Hello, we hope you're having a great day. The title of today's presentation is My Favorite Number Two. This particular training series is all about the second referee and nothing but the second referee in volleyball officiating. Let's dive right into it. We're going to talk about lineups before the start of the set with regards to the roles and responsibilities of the second referee. My favorite number two, a deep analysis on lineups. We're going to see that our second referee utilized the substitution zone for checking lineups. Notice that our second referee does not at any point in time enter the playing court. The second referee has both lineups in hand. Our second referee also is not holding the game ball. We'll talk about that more momentarily. Notice it takes very little time for our second referee to perform her duties as far as checking lineups. The game ball is at the scorer's table, and it remains so until the second referee rolls it to the server. She checks in one last time with scoring officials to see if they're ready to go, performs one last scan of the benches, and returns to court to the first referee to start the match. Here's another second referee doing equally great work. Utilizes the substitution zone for checking lineups, not entering the playing court, has both lineups in hand, will place one lineup on the scorer's table and immediately go to check the other lineup. Again, not holding the game ball. The game ball will remain at the scorer's table. Doing his work, also in very little time. The game ball, which is at the score table, will now be rolled to the server for the start of the set. Checking in one last time with the scoring officials to see if they're ready to go. One last scan of both benches, and handing of the court to the first referee. Excellent work. The basics. This will happen for each and every rally. Now, there's a caveat to this. From pretty much every level of volleyball, we will do almost all of these basics with the exception of awarding the point when the first referee ends the rally. As of now, on professional and international levels, the second referee, pardon me, does not award the point in sync with the R1 when the whistle of the R1 ends the rally. Otherwise, almost all of these basics are good for second referees on every level. Let's dive in. My favorite number two. We're going to do a deeper analysis of the basics for second referees. Our initial focus prior to service contact is the receiving team's alignment to ensure that it's legal. Upon ensuring that it's legal, we're going to move to the new receiving team side on service contact. We should get there in 3 to 4 steps. For all in system plays, we must be on the new receiving team side. Time for hit 2. See how the body of our second referee is parallel to the net? She is able to see the entire defense as well as the attack line of our offense. If a ball is attacked, our focus are the blockers if there is any blocking action, as well as the center line, the net, and the antenna. A second referee will not move until the blockers have transitioned away from the net. And this process will continue to repeat until the rally has come to a conclusion. My favorite number 2, a deeper analysis of the basics. Our focus is the receiving team's alignment. Assuring that it's illegal, we will move to the new receiving team's side on service contact, and we should get there in 3 to 4 steps. For all in-system plays, we must be on the new receiving team's side in time for hit 2. See how the body of the second referee is parallel to the net? You can see the entire defense as well as the attack line of the offense. Any attacks that feature blocking action, our focus will initially be the blockers, the center line, the net, and the antenna closest to the second referee. Our second referee will not move until the blockers have finished their action and move away from the net. This process will repeat until our rally comes to a conclusion. Now let's discuss awarding the point, where the first referee whistle ends the rally. And remember, this is good for every level other than professional levels. My favorite number 2, a deeper analysis of awarding the point when the first referee ends the rally. We will give the awarding the point signal in sync with the first referee, followed by the infraction signal. Again, it must be in sync with the first referee. Following the awarding of the point, our second referee will scan both benches for any potential requests by either team. When we award the point, here are a couple of things to keep in mind. We must be able to see the entire body of our second referee, but we should not have to go beyond the substitution zone in order to see the entire body of our second referee. We're taking a look at this process again with another second referee. Our emphasis on this are not only the syncing of the awarding the point and infraction signals with the first referee, as well as scanning both benches, but we want to ensure that we see the entire body of the second referee, and that is no part of the second referee's body is hidden by the net post, net stand, antenna, etc. Now let's talk about awarding the point when the second referee ends the rally. This is applicable on almost all levels of volleyball. My favorite number 2, a deeper analysis of awarding the point when the rally is ended by our second referee. The second referee will give an infraction signal, followed by the awarding of the point that should be in sync with the first referee. And after the awarding the point as usual, the second referee will scan both benches for any potential request. Now let's take a look at another second referee performing the same process. Again, the infraction signal will be given by the second referee, followed by the awarding of the point in sync with the first referee. And we will scan both benches for any potential requests such as substitutions, timeouts, or inquiries by head coaches. Now let's look at this a little deeper. Now notice that our second referee will step out into the subzone when he is into the rally to give his signal sequence. This is to get everyone's attention so that all the action can stop, as well as starting of the signal sequence. And again, we must be able to see the entire body of the second referee when they're awarding the point. And he steps back to scan both benches for any potential request. Well done. Awarding the point. Once again, diving into the second referee ending the rally, but this time specifically via a net foul violation. Here's a side note that we should make clear right away. There's a point in the process in the signal sequence where the second referee will indicate the offending player. That is the player that committed the net foul. In NFHS and NCAA women at the time of this presentation, we indicate the player by giving the number of the offending player. In NCAA men and USAV, some higher levels, you indicate the offending player, that is the player in the net, by simply extending an open hand towards the player. Let's dive deeper. My favorite number 2, a deeper analysis of the second referee ending the rally via a net foul. When our second referee ends the rally via a net foul, we will give the net foul infraction signal, the number of the offending player, award the point in sync with the first referee, and scan both benches for any potential requests. Notice that our second referee steps out, and we want to ensure that the entire body of our second referee is visible for awarding the point. Let's look at this with another second referee. Our second referee in this play steps out to give the net foul infraction signal. He steps back and gives the number of the offending player, awards the point in sequence. The first referee scans both benches for any potential request. Things that we should note about the movements of our second referee is that our second referee steps out to garner the attention of everybody on the court to stop all action, as he has information to give to everyone regarding of why the rally has ended. And as usual, our entire body must be visible when awarding the point. Let's dive into substitutions and how we can work smarter, not harder. My favorite number 2. Let's do a deeper analysis on substitutions and the substitution process. For review, we scan both benches for substitute requests after awarding of the point. Once the subs enter the zone, we will give the substitution request signal, and we authorize them to enter the match. We'll scan both benches again for any more substitution requests or potential timeout requests. No further requests, we give the court back to the first referee. Stay in the sub zone away from the players. No need to invade their personal space. The further back we are away from the players, the easier it is to see their numbers. Do not turn your back to the court while performing this process. You can turn your head toward your scoring officials and still be able to communicate them effectively while keeping your body parallel to the net. I like to communicate with my scoring officials during substitutes by repeating each sub twice to ensure that they have time to write down the substitutions accurately. I like to make sure that they are okay before I proceed. Thus, I also make sure we enter only one sub at a time so that our scoring officials have an opportunity to see the subs that are coming in and going out. As the second referee, we should know our subs. We should know who is coming in for who is serving, who is going to the front row, who's going to the back row. Know the positions of your subs and where they are going. Timeouts. We want to work smarter, not harder, on all dead ball officiating processes and procedures. My favorite number two, a deeper analysis on timeouts. After awarding the point, we scan both benches for not only substitution requests, but for timeout requests by the head coaches. We give a timeout signal and then signal to the requesting team, and we confirm with the first referee the number of timeouts used. In addition, I like to confirm the number of timeouts used with my scorekeeper. This is one of the few times where it is allowable to have your back turned to the court if you're conferring with your scoring officials during the timeout. I also like to confer with my scorekeepers the number of subs that have been used by each team. I like to confirm the current and net server of each team for my scorekeepers. And I also like to confirm whether my liberos for each team are in or out current. All this information is useful and it keeps a positive rapport and relationship with your scoring officials. When a timeout has ended, I will reconfirm the number of timeouts used with my first referee. I will scan both benches for any potential head coaching inquiries as well as potential substitution requests, and we will give the court back to our first referee. Now we're going to get into the second part of our presentation of my favorite number two. Part two is why ask why. So far in our presentation, we have outlined mechanics and best practices for the second referee in a variety of given situations, including lineups, the basics, substitutions, timeouts, award of the point, and when the second referee ends the rally. Now we're going to dive into why do we do these things. And we're going to start with lineups. As you can see in the video, I'm performing the lineup check in set one, having a quick discussion with the coach to ensure that her team is in the correct alignment. Now we're going to go in depth into why we have some of our practices that we do for lineups. As you saw from the prior video, as well as our analysis earlier in the presentation, one of our best practices was to stay in the substitution zone while checking lineups, taking the smart steps, not entering the playing court, not going to the libero replacement zone. Those things are unnecessary. Here are some reasons why. If we stay where we are, and scoring officials have a great view for which they can check their lineups along with us to ensure that we have the correct starting lineups on the court. Bonus, as I authorize the libero replacements if applicable for each team, I will inform my libero tracker of the libero replacements during this time. R1 can focus and check the alignments of both teams as well. And because I'm not making a lot of movements, I'm not serving as a distraction for anyone. Again, we observed some best practices as the second referee earlier in the presentation when the points being awarded as a result of the first referee ending the rally. Now we're going to dive into why we observe these best practices. Remember we talked about earlier that we want our entire body as the second referee to be visible to the first referee. We don't want any part of our body to be hidden by the antenna, net post, net stand. Here are some reasons why. The scoring officials can see the awarding of the point by both the first and second referees when our entire bodies are visible to the first referee. The scoring officials will now have a better, potentially uninstructed view of potential substitutions and libero replacements. And the second referee will already be in a very good position for dead ball officiating. So if you're stepping out just enough where your entire body is visible to the first referee, more than likely you are not in front of your scoring officials when awarding the point. Now, if libero replacements and substitutions are to take place following this awarding of the point, they have an open line of sight to see this happening, and they can begin writing down the accurate information before they make it to the libero replacement zone or before they even make it to the sub zone. And you, as the second referee, will already be in a good position to begin the substitution process, and you may have to move with very minimal steps, if any at all. Now, we are going to ask why and answer the questions of why we observe the practices we do when awarding the point as the second referee when we end the rally. Again, similar to awarding the point when the first referee ended the rally, we wish for our entire body as second referees to be visible to the first referee so that, one, again, the scoring officials can see the awarding of the point by both the first and second referees. Our scoring official will have a better view, or perhaps even an unobstructed view of potential substitutions and libero replacements. And the second referee will already be in a good position for dead ball officiating. If you paid attention in the prior video, did you notice after stepping out with the infraction signal and taking a step back to award the point, did you notice that the second referee was already in the position to be able to handle timeout requests and substitution requests, potentially without having to take any additional steps? If you didn't get a chance to observe this, don't fret. We'll see this very, very shortly. This is an excellent segue. Now we're going to answer the questions about our best practices and habits for substitutions. We see in the video that our second referee has substitutions for both teams. Let's watch this process happen one more time. Now you see the awarding of the point, and notice our second referee barely had to take any steps, took maybe one step and began the substitution process. And notice the only movements that the second referee is making during this process is the substitution sign, the authorization to enter, the turning of his head to the scoring officials to give them the information or to ensure that they have accurate information. Very minimal steps to perform substitution processes and procedures. Excellent work by our second referee. We talked about earlier staying a distance away from the players in the substitution zone with the entire body of the second referee visible to the first referee. We saw that in great detail in the prior video. Here are reasons why. Our second referee can perform all substitutions from essentially one spot while seeing the positions of the substitutes as they enter the court. Our second referee at the same time is also in the position to handle timeout requests. He's also in a position to see libero replacements and communicate that information to both the scorekeeper and assistant scorekeeper. Our second referee doesn't have to turn his or her back to the court and still be able to effectively communicate all information with the scoring officials. As we see in this video, our team on the left is requesting a timeout, and is granted the timeout by the second referee, who goes through the mechanics and procedures of the timeout process. We already know what that process is. Now you see that the back of the second referee is turned to the court, which is the only time that is really permissible for the second referee to turn his back to the court when addressing the scoring officials. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we address with our scoring officials during timeouts, because it's very important to keep the match going. And in case there are any inquiries made, that the second referee will have this knowledge that he gathered during timeouts, and he can address quickly not only with the first referee, but with either head coach who may be asking for such information. The duration of timeouts can be used by second referee to communicate with the scoring officials about the number of timeouts used, number of substitutions used for each team, what our liberos are in or out, current and net servers, and correct score. Why is this important? Well, if our head coaches or captains or first referee had any questions or inquiries about any of the following, our second referee would be Johnny on the spot to give this information very quickly and efficiently. In this video, for the most part, we have mostly in-system action, so out-of-system action, but generally we have 3 hits and then the ball goes over the net or the ball is attacked. And for the most part, when there's blocking action, our second referee is staying focused on that blocking action until the blockers transition away from the net and he goes to the new receiving team side, assuming that the rally is still ongoing. Now we're going to discuss why the second referee does what he does within 10 feet to 10 feet, from 3 meters to 3 meters. Pretty much that's attack line to attack line. As we learned earlier in our presentation, it is important for the second referee to be on the receiving team side in time for hit 2 in cases where hit 2 ends up being an attack. More times than not, hit 3 will be the planned attack. That's what we must be focused on, the blocking action, so that we can make accurate rulings on touches or no touches by the blockers, potential net foul violations, centerline violations, and antenna violations. Talked about being on the receiving team side in time for hit 2. Do you know why? For this play, as seen in the video, etc. attack. Good transition by our second referee on surface contact. He is in great position to be ready for the unexpected attack by our setter on hit 2 and the potential blocking action by our team on the right. Again, we must be on the receiving team side in time for hit 2. Do you know why? For this type of play, our libero overhand sets. If we are where we're supposed to be and our body is parallel to the net, where we can see the attack line of our offense, then we will see not only the overhand set by our libero, but we will see her location on the playing court when she performs this set, and we are ready to assist our first referee with a potential resulting attack if need be. Again, we must be on the receiving team side in time for hit 2. Do you know why? What happens twice in this play? Back row attacks. Again, we must be on the receiving team side in time for hit 2 with our body parallel to the net. Why? Because we can see the attack line. And if we can see the attack line of our offense, we can also see the takeoff point of our back row attacker, especially if our back row attacker is attacking a ball that is completely above the height of the net. This information gives us valuable assistance that we can give to the first referee if needed. Do you know why we must be on the receiving team side in time for hit 2? For this play, when we have overpasses headed towards the plane of the net. As we know, anytime we have an overpass, there are a bunch of potential outcomes that could happen. Illegal attacks, illegal blocks, net foul violations, center line violations, over the net violations, or legal play by both sides and the rally continues. In this particular play, following the overpass, we have a legal attack by our team on the right and an illegal block by our back row setter on the left. And we'll notice that our second referee is in perfect position and is able to give assistance to the first referee as he gives a subtle illegal block signal in case our first referee would have needed such assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our training presentation on my favorite number 2. This training was all about a second referee, and we hope that you gain some valuable knowledge and insight into the workings of the many roles and responsibilities of our second referee. We thank you for spending part of your day with us. We do hope you have a great day, a great week, a great month, a great year, a great season.